Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Are you all sure? How y'all doing this morning? That's what I'm talking about. Another day's journey, and I'm glad about it. I hope you are too. My name is Bill Daughtry, and I'll be your host for most of this morning. As we welcome you all to our 13th annual Fatherhood Conference, the Dad Resource Hub, right here at Kane University. Good to be back here again for our 13th year. We were a couple of years ago, absolutely. We had a good time, and we're going to have a good time today and get out some very useful information. We've got two wonderful speakers that, if you are a fan of the National Football League, you know who both Brian Cox and Fred Baxter are, particularly if you're a fan of the New York Jets. Both played with the Jets. One was an enemy of the Jets for a long time and then came over to the Jets. But now he is working with the New York Giants, talking about Brian Cox. But we'll spend some time with them a little bit later on this morning. Right now, it is my pleasure and my privilege to welcome the chairman of the Fatherhood Conference, our good friend Rod Spearman. Welcome him.
Good morning, and thank you, everyone. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. My remarks are really in the program booklet, but I want to welcome all of you here. We're looking for an exciting time. I want to thank you for all the sponsors and all the presenters and all the folks that have come and shared the information and table. Just an extra note, New Jersey State Troopers are in the midst of the recruiting season. So if you know somebody you're interested, please go by the table and see them. And so I want to just say thank you again. Our invocation was already done by Pastor Cedeno because he saw all your eating and chewing and hadn't did the prayer, so he took care of that. At this time, we're going to move quickly because we have some invited guests, Senator Cryan, Assemblywoman Keano, Councilman Manny Grover, and Councilman Carlos Cedeno to come and say some few words, and then we're going to move the program along quickly. Thank you. Where are they? They're coming up.
Morning, everybody. My name's Joe Cryan. I have the privilege of being the state senator here in the 20th district. In a moment or two, my lady I'm fortunate enough to work with each and every day in the state assembly here in the 20th, you'll meet Assemblywoman Keano. I just want to first off thank the organizers, Ron, and the team, and everybody who brings us together for important messages. I'm inspired by this conference and the Fatherhood organization each and every time we're together. And the reason for that is simple. I'm somebody who actually was a very young father, understands those challenges. I think so. Got announced at 19 and became one at 20. So pretty early enough. And understands financially, having gone through the struggles as to what it means, trying to make decisions literally between dinner and diapers. Those are different challenges as the ages come. Now they're in their 40s, and that's bigger children, bigger decisions, bigger problems. But as that happens, the gift that we have together, the gift of being able to enjoy the opportunity to be fathers and to watch our sons and our daughters grow is a gift from God himself. I thank you all for participating in the message today. It's an important message. A message that resonates in terms of lessons and struggles and the ability to mentor and discuss and understand paths forward is an opportunity that not many get. I'm glad you're here. I had the chance to say hello to a couple folks and who are here literally to hear the message, which is why I think this is so important. To have folks that I just spoke to, both in the city of Elizabeth and Plainfield, I didn't get a chance to get where other folks are from. That's why we're here. And frankly, that's why the people to my right serve in government, because we're here to serve. And that's the whole idea. I hope today that message resonates with you. I do want to echo Rod, because I saw Trooper Turner, who doesn't get a chance to eat that. He's still carrying that plate from 20 minutes ago, getting a chance to say, but if you, opportunities for jobs, opportunities to help bring back in society, most importantly, the most respected police, says this former sheriff, the most respected police division in the state of New Jersey, the state troopers, come be part of something special if it's in your DNA, in your blood, or just take a good look. So with that, enjoy the conference, everybody. Thank you to the organizers, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you. Oh, fantastic. And let me introduce to you a lady who just does incredible things for people each and every day. Very proud to introduce to you from the 20th District, Assemblywoman Annette Chiano.
Good morning. First, I want to thank the organizers, volunteers. This is such an important conference. And although I'm not a father, I can tell you what it looks like when you are a daughter, okay? It's not a one-size-fits-all. Everyone doesn't always show up. My father left when I was 2. However, I had a great stepfather. And I always tell everyone, stepfathers can be the most fantastic people in your life. Although you're not their biological child, they can do things for you and step into that position. And if it's not a stepfather, it's an uncle, and it's even grandfathers and great uncles that can do that. And that's so important. This conference is important because each person is important in someone's life. Be a young boy, a young girl. But what you teach them and what you show them will last a lifetime. I always like to see the state troopers at events because you know their official position and you know what they do, but you don't know about their volunteer side. And on the volunteer side, they have been tremendous giants that have helped me make thousands of sandwiches for people that have food insecurity here in Elizabeth. They have also helped buying gifts for every child at Trinitas Hospital during Three Kings, because every holiday is not always joyous for everyone, especially if you're in the hospital, and they make dreams come true. So thank you for everything you do. Today I want to acknowledge the Fatherhood Initiative, and I have a citation, because it's important that we celebrate these milestones, and each and every year gets better and better. So Rod, on behalf of Assembly, thank you very much for you and your team, the volunteers, the speakers, and making this a reality every year. Thank you very much. And then it's my pleasure to introduce the Elizabeth Council President, Carlos Cedeno.
It's an honor to be here with all of you. It's amazing to think that this is the 13th year that the conference is being taken place. And one of the things that I remember as clear as day is when the Union County Fatherhood Initiative started. It was in Kim Nesbitt's funeral home back in the day, and I had the pleasure of being there at that very meeting right in the beginning. And through the years, there's been many different events, initiatives that we have done, and Rod, through the leadership, through the committee, through all the volunteers, have been able to accomplish to impact men, and men that have physical children and also spiritual children. We know that so many times there's young men and women that might look at us as father figures too. And I just want to remind you of the impact that a father could have on someone's life. And I think we know that. Many times if people look up close, they might see that I have 2 wedding bands on. Do not worry, I don't have 2 wives, I just have 1 wife. But the reason I have 2 wedding bands is my dad passed away 3 months before I got married. And when I took off his wedding band the night he passed away, I was shocked. It fit me perfectly because I'm tall, 6'2". He was short. Like from the standpoint, I was surprised. I'll leave it at that it fit me. And on my wedding day, I wanted to make sure I had my matching band that I have with my wife. And I wanted to wear my dad's wedding band for the rest of my life as well, so that every single day that I live, I get to remember the impact that my dad had on my life and continues to have, even though he's physically not present with me, because a father's impact is something that's a domino effect that's felt for years to come, even if they're not physically with us. God bless you. Enjoy the conference. Just want to introduce Councilman Manny Grova at large from the city of Elizabeth.
Short. You adjusted the microphone because I'm the shortest guy in the dais. Good morning, everyone. How was that breakfast? Got your tummies a little full now, right? I want to just thank Rod and the board for putting this organization together 13 years ago. I was part of it way back when, because Rod and I go back many years. I was telling the senator a story. When I turned 40 19 years ago, Rod was the executive director of the Presbyterian Center downtown. And him and my wife connived a organization who was going to donate a check to our Presbyterian Center, because I was part of the board. And I go pick him up, and we go down to a place in Linden for an event to pick up a check. And lo and behold, surprise 40th birthday party. So I'll always remember that Rod was part of that scheme there, getting me to that event. But I'm a father of three. I lost my dad about a year and a half ago, and Dad and I were very close. He taught me respect, honesty, integrity. And he always said to me, "Don't ruin the Grover name." And I always remember that. And now I'm a father of two boys, and I tell them the same thing: don't ruin the Grover name, whatever you do. And the reason why is because it's so easy growing up as a young man to get strayed away and start doing some silly stuff. But it's a lot harder not to do it. And as long as you have a foundation, whether it's like the Assemblywoman said, whether it's your uncle, your grandfather, your brother, as long as you have somebody there that you can look up to, and that person is showing an example of what it is to be a good man in this world, you'll be in good shape. So I want to congratulate the foundation, Fatherhood Foundation. I want to make sure you guys all enjoy the rest of the morning. I got 3 other meetings that we're going to go to. We got a lot of stuff going on today, but I do want to make sure that I was here in support. Thank you. I think our last speaker is our Commissioner from the Board of Education, Elizabeth, Mr. Isaias Rivera.
Well, good morning, good morning. Have you ever wondered what is the most rewarding gift you can have as a father? Raise your hand if you ever had a Happy Meal from McDonald's, right? You know what I'm talking about? Well, a couple years ago, my 5-year-old son, Noah, he always wanted to have a Happy Meal, but he was very slick. Because I came to realize he didn't care so much about the Happy Meal. Instead, what do you think he cared about? The toy. Raise your hand if you have kids. Then you know how they go through different phases? Well, my 5-year-old son, he was going through a Super Mario phase. In other words, everything evolved around Mario. And at the time, there was a series of Mario toys linked with each Happy Meal. So one day, my son was like, "Papa, I want Mario." I said, "Okay." Very next day, he comes up to me and he says, "Papa, I want Luigi." I said, "Okay." And after several days, we almost had the entire collection. But there was still one toy missing. And he comes up to me and he says, "Papa, I want Bowser." Now, Bowser, he's like the antagonist of Mario. He's like this evil turtle dragon that breathes fire. So I go to the McDonald's closest to my home. It wasn't there. I go to the one downtown. It wasn't there. At the end of the day, I went to all the McDonald's in my home city of Elizabeth. But I couldn't find Bowser. I finally had to break it down to my son and say, "Papi, lo siento, pero there are no more Bowsers." And he was fit to be tied. He said, "Papa, you're not listening to me. I need it." I mean, what was originally a want and desire has now become a need. Apparently, I wasn't trying hard enough. And whenever my son gets upset, he always says, "Papa, you're not listening to me." Well, one day I pick him up from school, and he says, "Papa, I have a surprise for you." And from his book bag, he pulls out the Bowser toy. Well, not only was I shocked, but I'm starting to get a little suspicious. I said, "No, where did you get this toy?" He said, "From school." I said, "Who gave this to you?" He said, a boy? I said, what was the boy's name? He said, I don't know. Now, I had been reading books on communication skills and body language. Something wasn't right. I said, Noah, did you steal this toy? And he says, no. I couldn't believe it. My 5-year-old son was so determined to get this toy that he stole it from someone. I mean, what would you do in that situation? When we go home, we're having a certain conversation. I said, Noah, you take that toy back tomorrow and you tell that boy that you're sorry. But he says, Papa, no, you're not listening to me. I said, no, stop it. I even went ahead and messaged the teacher on the Class Dojo app, apologizing, and that Noah will be returning the toy back tomorrow. Very next day, the teacher messages me back, and she says, hello, Mrs. Costa's son gave him the toy and said he could keep it. LOL. Mrs. Costa is Noah's after-school teacher, and she occasionally brings her son with her. He's not part of Noah's regular class. That's why Noah didn't know his name. Oh, my heart melted. I quickly go to my son and say, Noah, I'm so sorry. I hug him tightly, and he whispers in my ear and he says, Papa, I love you. And that is one of the most rewarding gifts you could ever receive as a father. Now, I'm going to be speaking later on today, so I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want you to remember that. And it's organizations like this that helps reminds us the importance of having a father in the home and building a father. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our elected representatives. You don't have to do that. I got it. Appreciate you. Thanks to all of our elected representatives, and thank you to our sponsors. There are too many to name, but inside the back cover of your program guide, you'll see all 28 of them. Patronize them, and we thank them for making this organization and this day possible. As we move right along in our program, it is time for me to introduce one of the key members of the Fatherhood Conference. My good friend Ron Thomas will give you the conference overview. Please welcome him.
Good morning. Everyone should have the program journal for the event. I just want to highlight a couple of things. First, that since 2016, Union County Fatherhood has emphasized wellness. And what we arrived at that just because we were having conversations with fathers and father figures about what their concerns were. And what we realized is that we lack the opportunities like this to have a conversation about things that are important to us, like our health. And so that became an overriding theme for our conferences since 2016. And what you'll hear us talk about is healthy fathers, building healthy families, and strong communities. And we believe as fathers, and as we see ourselves as protectors, as providers, that we have to be healthy. We can't fulfill our role as fathers and father figures if we're not healthy. So a lot of what we are doing today is really emphasizing that in our breakout sessions. So after hearing from our keynote speakers on fatherhood and leadership, we will have breakout sessions on occupational wellness, physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness, as well as financial wellness. And these are components that we have arrived at just from conversations with fathers. You know, what's important. And so you'll have a good opportunity after the keynote session to go upstairs into the breakout rooms and have a closer conversation with the with the session leaders. And then at the end, which is very important to us, is the dad talk. After the breakout sessions around noontime, we'll come back down here, grab a little snack, and we'll go into what we call dad talk, which is a conversation. We'll talk about the things that you heard in the breakout sessions from the keynotes and things that are on your mind that relate to your role and development responsibilities as a father. So we look forward to you participating. We try to make it meaningful for you, try to feed you a little bit, but mostly what we're trying to do is feed your mind, feed your spirit. So enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
I'm the last guy. I just want to thank Ross Chairman for all of his leadership on putting this together year in and year out, like all the fathers who are attending. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
So now it's time to introduce our keynote speakers for the day. In the realm of professional sports, you have your stars, your superstars, your blue guys, and others. Particularly in football, blue guys are very important. We have two of the best blue guys in the history of the National Football League. First up, linebacker for 12 years, spent his best years with Miami Dolphins and came on over to the New York Jets after tormenting them for so many years. Linebacker, hails from St. Louis, Missouri, is currently defensive line coach for the New York Giants. Please welcome Brian Cox.
Appreciate it. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it. I think it's a really good cause. I wish I had somebody to speak to me when I'm a young father to help me navigate and go through some of the things. I want to just take about 5 minutes to talk. I think for the older fathers, we can relate. For the younger fathers, I got a couple of things that I want to touch on for you guys. And then for the ladies, I apologize because this is bad talk. And so, the goal. Fatherhood. It is the hardest and most important job that you'll ever have in life as a man. Because you shape what the next generation looks like. If you don't do a good job, or should I say, when you do a good job, or have done a good job, it's not until 18, it's a lifetime. My best moments have come recently when my 40-year-old, my 39-year-old, and my 32-year-old, and my 30-year-old come up and ask for advice that as younger people, they didn't feel like they could come to me and say. That thing is really important because I can navigate them, through issues or through things that they feel like they can trust me with. My 39-year-old has an 18-year-old granddaughter. She's in college and she's giving her mom fits. She's giving my daughter fits. And the thing that I try to tell my daughter is, it's okay that she wants to have her own ideas of what womanhood is and what being young is. The same way you did when you were young and you were bucking the system. So love her through it. Don't get into adversarial relationships and arguments over something you can't control. Fatherhood, when you talk about mistakes being made, there are going to be plenty. As a man, you have to own up to those mistakes and move forward. Most of us older men in here, we know we didn't do a great job of cultivating those relationships and always being there. I know I'm guilty of it. I wasn't always there. As a former pro football player, I always threw money and items at the issue where really they just wanted my time. And if I could go back and tell my younger self, the funnest times and the best times I had with my children are when we just sat down and did nothing but just talk, laugh, play, enjoyed each other's company. So I would encourage you guys, although most of us have grandchildren now, you got to do it. What you didn't do as a father, you get to do as a grandfather. You get to spend that time with that baby boy and that baby girl and teach that girl how she should be treated growing up to become a young woman. And teach that young boy how he should learn to treat a girl and how he should act in public. How he should, as someone said before, make sure that the name that they carry is spoken highly of. So those things are important. Another thing for you young fathers, two other things that will shape your life and your children's life. Who you marry and who you lay down and have kids with. Because if you marry a woman that's not good for you, you're going to have a lifetime of hell in and out of court systems, fighting for child support, all those different things. Who you lay down with and have children is a lifetime commitment. It's not until they're 18. It's something that will transform or happen until you leave this earth. You will always be a father once you become a father. Now, you can be a baby daddy, if you're not around. But if you are in that child's life and you take care of that child, it's a lifetime of life. The last thing I'm going to say is this. The right thing and the hard thing are typically the same thing. There are no shortcuts. The right thing and the hard thing in life are typically the same thing. So I would just say to everybody in here, it's not where you're from, it's not where you started. You can change and shape your life regardless of how old you are right now. There's a lot of older men in here, a lot of older men in this room. If you didn't do a good job, and you recognize you didn't do a good job, it's never too late to form and remake a relationship with your children. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to stand up and say, I didn't do a good job. I recognize that, but I'm willing to try to do better. And with that, I say thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brian. Fred Baxter spent most of his career with the New York Jets. I was floored when I came in and he said to me, "You're a legend." I said, "Oh no, you got that finger on your finger." From the 2003 New England Patriots Super Bowl champion. Please welcome Fred Baxter.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna call that. I'm very thankful for Brian. I came into the league as a rookie. Back with Miami Dolphins. And my job was blocking on the punt team. And the rush ball snap. Next thing I know, I heard a thump. He pushed me back on the corner. I blocked the punt with my back. So as we continued to grow in the league and he became a Jet, he became like a big brother to me. So we talked about doing the things on and off the field, being, accountable and being responsible. I'm very thankful for that. And to the brother chairman here of this wonderful organization, Fatherhood Coalition, I'm very honored. I lost my my early development. My father was divorced when I was a baby, and his teaching me was very spiritual. My grandfather, he built a church 120 years ago in rural Alabama. And one of the things that my father, when I was growing up as a baby, until he decided that he needed to go somewhere different, was the fear of the Lord. And doing that, he taught me Psalms 23. Someone has a shirt here, Psalms 23, that the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in the green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of thine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's what my father taught me as a little boy. Growing up with just raw talent, and that's what his father taught him. And I'm very thankful that when I decided to, humble myself and be obedient, the good Lord, he sent me servant my coaches, my mentors, all of that was missing in my home. I found a safe haven outside of my home that gave me the love, nurturing, the motivation, the principles, manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and upbuilding that made me who I am today. I'm very fortunate. Sports was my safe haven. It gave me the opportunity to express all of this negative feeling I had within because I didn't have my father in the household, but God sent me servant fathers through my coaches that gave me the love and the motivation that helped me to be to where I am today. Very thankful. Purpose. Each one of us have a purpose in life. And one of the greatest gifts is a child, being a father, and for the ladies being a mother. Very precious. And we should take hold and grasp that and continue to push our babies and give them the nurturing they need, the discipline they need, and also when you're talking about the opportunities for a safe haven. We have to do that as fathers. As we continue to live and do what God called us to do, we need to continue to uplift our babies, keep our babies in our hearts and our minds. I'm very thankful for this opportunity. I come from a very rural area in Alabama. Population is 2,500. And someone saw something in me, my coaches, that gave me the opportunity to go from Alabama to New York to Chicago to New York. And with the chances of being a professional athlete, which is very, very slim, that I was able to use my athletic ability and my purpose in life that was shaped by my mentors, my coaches, to be a better person, to be happy, and to be successful. And I charge each and every one that's here, as fathers, to continue to pray, uplift the children, the grandchildren, and give them the necessary, I love you. You are somebody. When God created you, he created you. And continue to pour that into them, and hopefully all their dreams and all their desires, they will be able to come to fruition. I'm very thankful for this day. I love each and every one of you. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Fred. Now we're going to talk to these brothers and get their views on some things that I've already expressed. I will share this if we have a follow before, and I really connected with Ryan was talking about how when their children get older, because my children are now 47, 44, 44, and 37 years old. One is a homeowner, all have had successful lives and careers. One is in law enforcement, the other two are in sales. But what is most compelling to me, some of the conversations I have, especially with the two younger ones now, we go places where we never went before. And the beauty of the thing is, now I can be their friend. Before I was responsible for them. But now we can have those adult conversations as friends. And of course, I'm always going to be their father. The father more than a title is a job. You have to live up to the expectations of the job, never mind the title. But enough for me. Let's talk to these brothers about their experiences as fathers. And we'll start here. In your experience, what are some common challenges that you faced as a father in today's society, and how have you found support from other men in navigating these challenges? Ryan?
Probably one of my biggest struggles is around the presidency. You know, when Donald Trump won this term, my daughter panicked and freaked out, started having panic attacks. She was talking about, I'm leaving this country, I'm moving, I'm going back to China. She had spent a year in China teaching. And the thing that I tried to get her to understand was, it's okay to be fearful, but at the end of the day, your dad gonna protect you. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I can promise you that. I go to hell for it. I do anything I gotta do to make sure that you are safe. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you. And the biggest thing is I had to talk to my brothers about it and get them to understand and like get their input and their thoughts on it, because it was very tough. It was scary for some people. And it was scary for my children, my daughters especially. I got 4 daughters and 1 son, so my son's the middle. But my daughter, it really shook her. Like for like 3 months, she was talking about moving back to China. I said, "You live in America, you gonna go back to China?" She said, "Dad, I'm safer." I was like, what kind of statement is that making? Like, this world is upside down, you know. But again, talking to my brothers who also have adult children, we just kind of went through it. It was like the biggest thing is we got to make her feel safe. That was one of the things that I think recently was a big thing for me as a father. It's a great question. My daughter, Brittany, she's 30. My girlfriend at the time, in my young life, we didn't, you know, we didn't make it. We didn't get married. Just through challenges. But she married another man, and he was very visible in my daughter's life. And it wasn't that it was any kind of envy me towards him. Is that I was very grateful that she was able to have a man figure in the house. But she realized that I am, and still is, her biological father. And we both, as men, we poured into that baby. And now she's a grown, successful young lady doing her very best, and still she has 2 fathers. You know, that's what we say. She had 2 fathers, and understanding how her biological father, but Reed was the young man that was there each and every day, providing a roof over head, food and things, and clothes like that. He also was the father. So it's just, you know, so this generation now where it takes a village, and I'm very thankful for the young man coming in, stepping in, and working with my baby and treating it just like it was his child, because he had 2 children already. we're staying there. So it's complicated, but it was a blessing that it was able to work out for. She graduated from college, very smart. Now she's working in the law firm there in Alabama. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
It's amazing how we are now witnessing blended families, but most of us come from blended families. You know, and those lessons that we learned growing up now, we now pass them on and implement them with our children. Both of these gentlemen are coaches. I told you before, Brian coaches with the New York Giants. Fred is a golf coach at Widener College in Pennsylvania. Watch yourself. I'm curious as to how NFL tight end, although most of you guys are great athletes anyway, you excel despite anything you do. But from football to golf, that's a little bit of a stretch to me, but we can get into that. But more importantly, both of you now as coaches are still being fathers, but being fathers now to a whole new group of children. Talk about the fatherhood experience as it pertains to coaching now. It's changed.
Well, it's key because you have, I've participated in the intern coaching program through the NFL 4 times. And being able to communicate with the young guys coming in and just giving them some of the wisdom that was given to me when I was a rookie. And as the generation evolved, you know, the game evolved, but at the same time, the fundamentals stay the same. When you talk about work ethic, accountability, being on time, knowing your position, and being respectful to yourself, to your teammates, to the environment, you know, every walk of your life, you know, we try to pour, your athletic ability is nothing I can tell a athlete because each one is designed differently. And some of the guys that come in now, they way, like my son, he way athletic than me. But if we had to put those pads on, I know my experience, I'm gonna get it. You know, so that's some of the things that we try to pass along, just like I made a statement with Brian. I was a rookie, he was second, third year, and going to go up against him, he knew way more than I did. He knew the speed, the tempo, because it's different. And when we practice, the tempo was okay, we out there having fun, we in pajamas, we out having fun, but then when the lights come on, everything changes. So we want to make sure that we give them the true identity of what it is to be a professional football player. And I translated to college now. In my career, I kind of coach my golf team the same way I was coaching the football team. You know, using the same fundamentals. You got to be in shape, you got to be accountable, and making sure that when they take those clubs and get on the course, they're ready to play. I can talk about that when we should do One of the things I think for me in coaching that's been really satisfying is you take a kid who doesn't quite trust the process or trust anyone because they didn't grow up with father or they had issues with their father, and all of a sudden you get into the room in my 16th year of coaching, I can talk to that young man and get him to understand as an adult, or maybe get him to look at it through a vision that maybe his father sent it through and say, well, did you ask him this? Or how about, did you guys have an open conversation and were you able to tell him how you felt? And oftentimes, you know, I get people coming back to me 5, 8, 10 years in the future and saying, man, thank you so much. You made my relationship with my father better. I'm able to open up, I'm able to talk to him now. And I think it's made me a better father because in those situations, I can get where the young man is coming from, and then I can relate it to my son, my only son. So me and my son haven't always had the best relationship because we're too much alike. Like we're bullheaded, we're stubborn, we're only gonna do what we want to do. And that's gonna cause some bumping heads. I remember my son was at the University of Florida. He was playing football. He played in the league for 5 years, and now he plays up in Canada. And he says to me one night, we're sitting outside, and I'm smoking a cigar and having a drink, and he's sitting over there, and he said, "We're not as close as you think we are." What do you mean? He said, "Dad, we're not that close." I said, "Okay, explain it to me. What do you mean?" He said, "You think we tight, and I don't think we tight." And then he went back to some things and called up some things and said, remember this? That's why I don't think you got my back. I said, what? But it was just giving him the floor to be able to feel like he could have a conversation as an adult young man talking to his father. It wasn't always respectful. I let him vent and get out everything he needed to get out. And our relationship is much better. And I will always, at least a couple times a year, say, hey, you got anything you need to get off your chest? Do you have anything you need to talk about? Is there anything that I didn't do? Are you upset about something I didn't do? No, Dad, we're good. But I think just giving him that opportunity to vent and to say anything he wanted to say as a grown man and not be able to watch him out, be respectful. I think it made our relationship better. It made our relationship stronger because he finally realized I was in his corner. And there's some things as young men that they don't understand because they haven't experienced it. But you as an older man, you've experienced some things, as Fred said, and you look at it from a different lens. Because the things that I saw in my 30s, I see much differently now in my 50s. I'm not the same man. And if you are the same man in your 50s that you were in your 30s, you got some problems. You haven't developed. Because what doesn't grow that stays the same is outdated.
Wait till you get to your 70s. So now this is not on the script, but I'm just curious about this from a personal experience I had some years ago. But most of the players that you guys coach now today, do they know who you are? Okay. How about you, Fred? Did your players know who they were standing in front of when you were talking to them? And how'd you cross that bridge?
I had a humble approach, and eventually once we got a good relationship, and they was on the team, then we had to have a good conversation. But I never entered in any situation, about what I did and all that. I just try to be who I am, the Lord, who God created me to be. And I love people. I've given an ability to influence and motivate young individuals, and I try to do it to the best of my ability. Yes, sometimes when need be, I use my platform to help, better the organization that I'm working with. But just going in, entering with, I'm an NFL player, I don't do that. Neither do I. For you guys that don't know Fred, like you say, he's from a town of 2,500. And when you go to that little town, there's a big sign saying, "Welcome to the home of Fred Baxter." Sitting on the side of the highway. He is one of the most humble people that you'll ever meet. I, on the other hand, and my wife would probably say the same, I'm a big mouth, loud mouth. I love people, but don't ever twist me. Because if you cross me up, we got problems for life. We got problems.
I'm telling you, years ago, I was working with the Mets, and they had a first base coach named Tommy McCraw. Tommy McCraw played for the Chicago White Sox, first baseman, outfielder, big, a lot of speed. He was a good dude. And I walked up to Tommy one day on the field, and he was talking to the pitcher, Jason Isringhausen. Never forget this. And I said, Tommy, I remember you from when I was a kid, you blah, 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 blah. Now he's got the gut and all that. And he said, he turns to Jason, he looks at him and says, tell him what you just said. Izzy had no clue who he was standing. Both of you talked about this a little bit earlier, the challenges of a career and being a father. You talked about how you would handle it, or how you tried to handle it, or mishandle it in some cases. Talk to these young brothers now, today, who may be faced with those same problems, the pressures of a career, the pressures of a job, the pressures of family, the pressure of the job of being a father.
I would just say this. Mistakes will be made. There's no getting around it. There's no perfect father. The thing is that you have to take accountability and admit where your mistakes are. I talked about who you have kids with. The mother is important because if you have a child with somebody that you're not married to and you're not in the house and you're paying child support is not a convenience. It's accountability. Like, for me, I'm married for the second time. My first marriage didn't work. It lasted about 13 years. My kids meant so much to me when I got divorced. I paid her extra money. I paid her $60,000 a month because I wanted to raise my kids. And I was a single dad for 2 years. Fred was there. We're like brothers, so we've been together since about 96. So we're like brothers. And Fred would come over to the house and cook and barbecue. I couldn't cook worth a damn, so Fred would come over and cook. But I paid my ex-wife $60,000 a month for about 3 years until I started dating a girl that I deemed worthy enough to marry. She was the person that really helped me understand what being a good father was. So my first wife, she said, you have a house, you can keep the kids, you can do all this. Okay, fine. In fairness, I said, if I'm keeping the kids, I'll still pay you child support for 2 years. And that's how much it meant for me to raise my kids and not allow somebody else to raise my kids. Now, my first wife, in hindsight, wasn't worth a damn. And I don't use that word lightly. I think, to me, any woman that will give up her kids is, let me not be disparaging against my first wife, because we got a very good relationship. So I don't want to make it seem like it was bad. But like, when I look at it as a father, those kids meant so much to me that I would do anything. I would have gave her more. Fast forward, my second wife. My second wife is a heavy sleeper. She came into my kids' life. My 32-year-old daughter was 8 at the time, and my 30-year-old son was 6 at the time. She raised my kids. And we've been married 24 years now, the best thing that ever happened to me. Because even when I didn't want to do right by my kids or by my ex-wife, she was woman enough to say, the man I married would do this. Or the man that I was dating and fell in love with would do this. So those issues come up, and when kids get caught in the middle sometimes, it makes it hard. I would just encourage you and press upon you to remember that the things that you do to these kids that traumatize them will follow them for the rest of their lives, and probably will somehow seep into your grandchildren's life, because all the trauma that we don't deal with as kids, as men, you see it again, and oftentimes it shows up in your kid's life. So I like to go to counseling. I like to talk about stuff. I'm an open book. A lot of people don't like counseling, but counseling has been great for me because It's basically just somebody listening and giving me feedback back on what I'm not good at. And I got a lot of things I'm not good at because I'm stubborn, I'm set in my ways at 57, but who you marry, who you have kids with is really important. With me, it's the greatest asset when I had my daughter was born, greatly, is communication. I was in the league, I'm working. For me, I had to make the team area, so my focus was on just doing whatever I need to do, mind, body, and soul, to make sure each and every year that I was on that roster. But at the same time, communication. And my wife, Lisa, she and I, we've been married now 23 years, and she has developed a relationship with my oldest daughter and my son. And again, it's communication. It's one thing that she always tells me, that you little dog, you can, control the communication part. Just calling, texting, and I have a problem with my daughter because I call her, she won't pick the phone up, and then I text her, and then she'll text me right back. So that's a little running joke we have going, but at the same time, communication is letting them know that you do love them. Now that I've been out the league now 7 years now, our relationship, or the physical, we talk about being present. We kind of make sure that I do that with them in their lives, and listen to them. I'm one of those, right from wrong. And my thing that I was telling my daughter when she was in college, in high school, is if you make all A's, I ain't got nothing to say. If you don't make all A's, then that's when you bring me into the little program. I'm going to find out what's going on, why you're not. And she made all A's, so I ain't got nothing to say.
That's like coaching a winning team. As long as you don't win, if you lose a couple of them, we'll have a conversation. So while we're talking about communication, I don't know, how many grandchildren do you have? No, how many do you have? One, okay, and we're still in it. I got 7, okay, but I can't really get with my children now about technology. Matter of fact, I can learn some things from them about technology, but as the world continues to become increasingly interconnected through technology, your thoughts on how fathers can prepare their children to navigate the digital landscape responsibly and safely? Somebody says the internet ain't got a front door or a back door. What values and skills do you believe are important to instill in them?
I think the big thing is in the digital era, AI, all that, you can get your kids to look into education in those areas. That's where the world is going. In terms of phone, everybody has a phone. My youngest daughter, my wife, my current wife, she didn't have any children, but she raised mine, so we wanted to make sure that she was the mother of a biological mother. So my youngest is 16, and the thing that we did with her was said no social media until she was 16. Everybody has phones. My wife has a tracking device with this pin, and you know her location at all times. It's technology is a blessing, but it's also a curse because it's a very scary world out there. FaceTime, I get to talk to my daughter. I live here when I'm working with Josh. Of course, my wife and daughter live in Houston. So I spend a lot of time FaceTiming my daughter. How did you do in the track? How did you do on your science? How did you do? So we can't get around it. We can't be fearful. You have to just set some parameters as to say, this is how we're going to move as a family. And we take breaks off social media. We might, with the church, we might say no social media on Sunday. We're on social media. So it's tough to navigate. is a necessary evil. But I would just say, you know, especially for the grandkids, make sure you're paying attention to privacy, what they're looking at. You know, you can set it up where you can know what they're looking at whenever they look at something come up on their phone. So I think that's important, especially with the.
We just have to be very, you know, teach them very have to be responsible and monitor, you know, their movement, especially at an early age, because you have a lot of kids that's preying on the babies, you know, on this cell phone, social media platforms. So we have to educate them, as Brian said, and continue to try to put them in a safe space where, you know, they're using it for good and not for bad.
So there's this term that we all live with now, AI, artificial intelligence. I call it another name. I'm borrowing from somebody on this. Artificial is fake. Intelligence is news. So when you talk AI to me, you're talking fake news. That's about all I can give it with anything. Moving right along. As we have evolved as a culture, as a nation, as a people, we have become more increasingly dark. We are brown. We are different shades of brown as opposed to what used to be black and white. So, from your perspectives, what are the unique experiences and challenges faced by fathers from diverse backgrounds, including different cultural, ethnic, or socioeconomic contexts? How have you prepared your children for these challenges, and how do you believe their voices can be heard and their needs addressed? I have 2 grandchildren who are of Puerto Rican heritage. Everybody else is what we would call traditionally black. And my Puerto Rican grandchildren, they identify as black. But it's not that simple for everyone. How do you deal with crossing those bridges?
Well, exposure. You know, we have to realize and kind of show our babies exactly where they come from and where we come from. Even though it might be 2 different worlds or 2 different spectrums of the world, my skin might be a little different than your skin, but at the same time, when you peel the onion back, we have to let them know that our foundation. And by doing that, we have to expose them. You know, the love that we have for them is not going to change. You know, our hopes and fears, you know, is going to be strong, and we want to give them the opportunity to be who God told them to be. But at the same time, we have to expose them to their, like, my wife, she's from Puerto Rico. So I know a little Spanish, but you know, I'm from the Congo. You know, that's what when I did my little ancestry, that's what I'm 89% from the Congo. So I'm African. So, you know, but I embrace all ethnic groups because I love people. That's the one goal that I thank the Lord that He put in me and still in me, that I love people. I respect everybody. And if it's something that is against what I believe in, I just excuse myself, let you do you, and I keep on moving. You know, so that's
For me, I think Fred said it, exposure. So my one and only grandchild is, her mother's 100% black, me and her mom are black, so she's black. But my granddaughter is half white, half black. My son predominantly only dates Spanish people. My 16-year-old daughter is dating Mexican. Like, to me, I don't give a damn. Love who love you. And that's what I teach my kids. It ain't color. I'm a little bougie in saying that my kids grew up in really affluent neighborhoods, nice places. So they get to be around people with money or status or whatever. So, like to me, I'm like, don't settle. If a white boy like you, like him back. I say, love got no color. Love will love you. Like if you sitting around here waiting on a black boy to come up to you and say something, we laugh at you all the time because he kind of like you, but he's scared and he don't want to get embarrassed. And the little Mexican kid come up and say, can I take you out to dinner? And I go to drop her off on the dinner date. He's opening the door for her. He refuses to let her pay for anything at 16. I'm teaching my daughter that's how you want a man to treat you. I don't care what color you are. So for me, I don't get caught up in that. I'm not a color person. I like who like me. You don't like me, the hell with you. I like who like me. I'm in the neighborhood where people like me. Like I be in the hood sometimes. Like, this who like me. You know, I want to feel good about myself. I don't want to go around anybody that don't want me there or don't like me. Because then we got a problem. So, like who like you. Love who love you.
We always talk about every now and then you need to get off the block. You need to see what's in that world out there beyond that point. And you'd be surprised, as Brian just said, we just might like you. Final thing, what steps are you currently taking or planning to take to prepare for your future, both personally and professionally?
What steps am I taking? So the biggest thing is, I'm 57 years old. I played 12 years in the NFL. This is my 16th year coaching. I really, my daughter's a sophomore in high school. I want to work 6 more years to get her out of college. My wife has followed me around this country. I think we moved 17 times since we moved back. So I told her that when our daughter get out of college and I do retire, baby, whatever you want to do, I'll follow you. You follow me around. I'll live my life. And you want to travel, we'll go wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. As long as I play golf, it's supposed to go. I can do them two things, I'm good. I owe it to her. She's been Superwoman for my family. So when I retire, wherever you want to go, I ain't leaving Texas. I'm staying in Texas. I ain't leaving Texas.
Yeah, got my spot.
And when I told her we can buy a condo anywhere you want to go, and I'll follow you. I even go shopping. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of saying.
And you know what? That's when you'll find out this stuff gets to be real easy to do.
Well, I committed. Well, I still want to go to house.
Are you rooting for Auburn today, though?
All every day.
I'm just saying.
Every day.
Just saying.
Every day. Every day I'm involved. Every day. I wake up tomorrow. Go eat before you. Charles Barkley.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm very thankful in my journey. Good Lord, he gives me a hard-working young lady, and I'm just waiting on her to retire. She loves money too much, so I don't know what it's going to be. But I've committed my gifts to service. So I try to use all of my God-given abilities. And right now I mentor 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders in golf. And I try to instill in them there's a lot of opportunity that's being untapped for us brown babies to enter into college. There's no competition. So if I get one each year, I thank the Lord for it because I'm giving them an opportunity to express themselves in a positive manner and go to school for free. when my wife retired, then I want to just travel and make grind, man. As long as I can play golf and smoke my cigar, I'm going to be okay. But until that time comes, and I think I'll still be doing that when I retire officially, is trying to instill in babies all the opportunities that is out there for them to better themselves, not only themselves, but their family. You can go to school for free because there's a lot of money out there for, especially our young ladies, with all these Title IX opportunities in sports and flag football. A lot of people, if you have any young girls that's talented, tell them to get into flag football because colleges and universities are giving these babies scholarships to go to school to play flag football. And it's going to be an Olympic sport in 2028. So that's what I do as an advocate for you, is find these different little avenues that have all these talented babies. I see them every day that is trying to just find one. If somebody gonna listen to the stick, if they can go to school or change their life dynamic just by using that God-given ability, then we all have money. You know, like I said, nothing will come. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. It's all with certain gifts.
Yeah, and many, it's many gifts. And I just try to just use one to bring myself. And this, if God continue to bless me, that's what I'm going to continue to do. Try to influence our babies to use all their God-given abilities to help not only themselves, but their families.
I have a nephew. First time I saw him play golf, he was 5 years old. Now he's a scholarship golfer at Seton Hall University. He's not my son, but I am as proud of him as if he were my son, because I had a little bit to do with that development coming up along the way. But, you know, again, I like what you have to say about the babies. So, this has nothing to do with father, but this is a competitive thing now. How many strokes you gotta give him when you're on play?
Ain't no strokes. Yeah, ain't no handicap, no, ain't no strokes. That makes you play good today.
You gotta get that. Get that recognition.
Yeah, ain't no strokes.
Who won the last time you played? Tell the truth. Match play and stroke.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. There you go. Well, let's have a big round of applause for Brothers, we want to thank you for taking this time and sharing that knowledge and sharing that wisdom. I'm being instructed to remind you that now we have to take care of the photo opportunity. And so after that, we will get into our breakout session.
What I want, what I see, what I choose, what I intend. I'm going to break this down. What I want. Most men that I find most people have difficulty even saying what they want. You know what they do? They'll be like, well, I don't want. 2 minutes? Okay, cool. We'll run through this real quick. What I don't want. We're getting rid of the not configurations. Because as soon as you say I don't want something, you get it. The mind fails to process nots. Okay? What do I want? And I'm telling you right now, if you're thinking like, I just want to win these double stack of hungry. Bull crap. I want you to go big. That point in you that scares you a little bit. Like, yep, that's the one. What do you want? I know for me, I want freedom. I want freedom. This is beyond like, I want X amount of my 401k so I make sure my kid goes to school. No, I want freedom. What do I see? What do you see in your life when you go for what you want? So shoot, I see myself looking at financial courses, traveling to Uruguay, Puerto Rico, going to see my family in Jamaica? Where would you want to travel to? Bless up! Traveling to the Dominican Republic. This is what I see. Most men fail mental faculty of vision. Vision. You got to see it here before it materializes. Just like how when you started to open up to something different, things changed. So what do you see? When you see yourself in that, what are the choices that you make? I want freedom. I see myself traveling and learning about ways I can be free. I choose to be disciplined. I choose to be informed. I choose to be calm, relaxed, whatever it is. What's the choices that you make? Yeah.
Oh, I like what you said, sir. When you have a vision, think big, don't think small. And the second thing that I want to mention, my vision might be different from his vision. Each one of us got our own vision, but think big. That's very positive.
Yes, man. And the great thing is when we have that space with other men, yo, this is what my vision is. Now we talk about that accountability team. Okay, I know. I think I got 30 seconds left.
Real quick.
Yo, brother Ron's like,
I'll take 5 seconds. I don't know if you're speaking biblically, but you are speaking biblically. When you talk about seeing the mind, your imagination, enlighten the eyes of your understanding, that you can see things through the eyes of your understanding. And when you look at that scripture, that's what it's talking about. You can literally visualize. It starts here, the eyes of your understanding. You can see it. And when you meditate on that, you can bring it to fruition. You can see it through the eyes of your understanding, which is your mind.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you for that. And which I'm gonna build on that wisdom we just had for the last part before we wrap up. What do you intend? One of the things is, and this is a hack, if there's one thing you all leave with, and we may never see each other again in this lifetime, move with intention. We go through life haphazard. And I'll tell you something, man, real quick. When my dad passed away, I used to see him in my dreams. Come to me, thick Jamaican accent, heavy, ashy-ass hands. And one of the visions, he said, Paul, move with intention. Nothing else matters. And that was the same message for months. Until I recognized when I stepped into something, I was just stepping into it. What am I doing here? What are you doing as a father? And this is free of you judging based on what somebody else is doing, because you have your own unique DNA as a father and as a man. So what's your intention? What is it? When you walk out of here, what do you intend to do? What do you intend to learn? My guys and my gal. Move with intention as fathers and as men, and notice what comes for you and to you. My name is Paul Newell. Thank you so much for being willing to be in this space. Yep, purpose, yep. Yep, move with purpose, yep. Yes. I have a blink. I have a blink. So I'm actually, hold on, guys. I'm going to put my contact information up here. Paul. And if you want my blink, come. I got you. At Gmail, Paul25Newell at Gmail. And if you want to use this thing called the phone and speak to somebody, 908-723-8977. Text, smoke signal, message, whatever. I'm here for you guys, all right? Call 25-NEWELL@gmail.com. Also, 908-723-8977. I'm here for you, man. I want to see you all win. Let's get it.
Paul,
Yes.
I want to say thank you, right? You see, I was looking at which room to walk in, and everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And I want to just challenge the older brothers in here, as we talked about the village, don't let it just die here, right? Take it with you. Take the young ones up here. Continue what we talked about.
We got to pass it forward. We got to
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Going back to that interest calculator, you put in, say, $10,000 as an initial investment, and then you want to put a contribution of $200 each month. You do that for 40 years, or 20 years, 30 years, whatever the amount is, and you have the interest that you're earning on that money, it's compounded daily. That will help you determine what your end amount will be. So I encourage you to take a look at investors.gov. Take a look at that interest calculator, that compound interest calculator, to help you plan as to how much money will grow over a period of time. Now I want to just give you some basic concepts, some basic strategies, steps to take in each stage of your life. All right, in your 20s, when you get out of college, or you didn't go to college, you went to trade school, you started working, you want to begin, that's your foundation years in your 20s. You want to start building a budget, earning good habits, developing those good habits, paying yourself first. Gentlemen made mention also earlier in the last session, make sure you tithe, if that's your community, tithe. Right, but paying yourself first. Establish that budget and keep understanding of what that budget represents. To get a budget, we understand what our income is coming in, our gross pay, pay the taxes, and our net pay, and then what are our expenses. That will determine what your discretionary income is after you subtract your expenses from your income. That's important to understand that in your first formative years in your 20s. Developing good credit. If you develop good credit, that's going to help lower your costs when it's time to go buy a house, when it's time to go purchase a car, or it's time to just purchase any type of loan. Good credit. You don't want to establish credit card debt right coming out of college, but some people do that because we live in a microwave society and we want it now versus sacrificing now to get it later. You want to start your 401k or traditional IRA as soon as possible. Pay yourself first. Then when you get to your 30s, that's going to be your momentum years. You're earning more money. You're earning more money. What do you want to do? You want to continue paying yourself more opposed to spending more. Living within our means opposed to above our means. One of the biggest problems that we have is we live above our means and we get into credit card debt. So those are the things we don't want to do. The things we want to do is live between our means, and then as we're in our 30s, again, maybe looking at investment properties, looking at opening up a business, looking at multiple streams of income to build and accelerate your income. But when we get into our 40s, we really want to accelerate our income. Hopefully we making more money. We've got promotions. We may have shifted from one job to the next job. Or some people may want to stay in one job. I'll give you some advice from me. And what I did, I worked corporate America for many, many years. I wish I shifted to becoming an entrepreneur a lot earlier. But I would say to you, in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, think about entrepreneurship, adding multiple streams of income. Now, when you're in your 40s, then you want to make sure you have your proper insurance. All right? You want to think about long-term care insurance as well as just basic life insurance. A lot of people don't think of life insurance as paying themselves, but it actually is paying yourself. And it's building an income stream potentially to help in your retirement because as your cash value builds, then you can take a loan on that cash value, pay yourself back as you're paying the premiums. And it's tax advantage as well, okay? So as we look at our 40s, as we build that momentum in our 30s, we build that foundation in our 20s, now when we get to our 50s, then we want to catch up and be far behind in our retirement savings, right? The government gives you ability to put more money in your retirement account when you're above 50. It's called a catch-up rule, right? Now, in the catch-up rule, when you put more money away, you also want to be in a position where you understand that there's three buckets. You have your taxable bucket, that's where your liquidity is. That's where your emergency fund money is. Where you have accessibility to the cash. Then you want to have your tax deferred bucket. That's when you don't pay the taxes now, you pay the taxes later. But you don't want to put all of your money in the tax deferred, because if you're paying a larger amount, who benefits more? The government. If you have tax advantage, your Roth IRAs, cash value life insurance, then you're paying the taxes up front on a smaller amount. As the money grows, you've already paid the taxes, so at withdrawal, it's a tax advantage. It's a tax advantage at withdrawal, right? So as people think about the allocation of your assets and allocation of your money, you want to put where you pay less taxes, but you're allowing compound interest over a period of time to make yourself wealthy. Because how do you get to $1 million? How do you get to 2 million? It takes time, so you can't waste and procrastinate early on, because if you waste and procrastinate, then you gotta put more money to get to that $1 million. Right? Question?
I have a question. I did most of those things, but I did not do the IRA.
Okay.
Now I'm at a place in my life where I'm setting to retire. And it was suggested to me that I get an IRA.
Okay.
Is it too late?
It's not too late, but I would recommend you get a Roth IRA
Okay.
versus a traditional IRA.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So my question is, with the market and everything that's happening, I've seen my 401k actually declining.
Right.
What are your suggestions about that? Some people have said take your money out. Some people have said invest more currently, raise the amount that you're investing. But I've lost over the last couple months.
Yeah, well, the markets are cyclical, okay? And the markets will always bounce back. And if you take money out now, you lock in losses.
Okay.
So the market is geared for it to be long-term, right? So I don't know how many years before you retire, but you have to now be patient, and you want to see an advisor like myself to take an overall view of your total financial picture, and then there's ways where we can protect assets, okay? And we have vehicles that give you the ability where you can take advantage of the upside, but you also have downside protection. And that's where myself and people in my area, we focus on doing that, right? But you don't want to take your money out now because you lock in losses. But you do want to, if you have cash, you have the capabilities to buy now. You do want to buy now because the market's going to go back up. Each and every time the market goes down, it's by design, okay? And I don't want to get into political things, but the move that's being made is by design, because it's going to be painful now, but then certain people who are in position are going to become more wealthier later on. All right, so you have to decide if you want to be middle class or get to upper middle class and become a fool. You have a question?
Yeah, so sorry guys, I know this is like for the guys, but so for like a young person like myself, I'm 24, right? What would be your recommendation as far as like setting myself up for success long term?
Take advantage of time being on your side. Look at that financial calculator, begin investing, and let compound interest over a period of time make you wealthy.
So would you recommend a Roth for me or a regular?
I would recommend a Roth, and you know, if you're working for someone else, take advantage of a 401k and take advantage of the match, but then put the balance of your assets in tax advantage solutions, cash value life insurance, Roth IRAs, investment property. or become a business owner? Become a business owner.
I was working with people. I went there to do had 4 kids. They were going to college, but I noticed certain people when they got close to retirement, they moved there in a fixed account. And I tried to pass that on to people. They didn't listen to me. They ended up losing a couple $100,000.
Well, so here's the thing. When I was talking about the downside protection accounts, so having a downside protection account will still give you the ability of money to grow is better than just putting it in a fixed account because we're living longer. So you can be living in retirement for just as long as you're working. So we retire at 65 and our money's in a fixed account and it's not outpacing inflation. We live to 90 and we're not in the best position. But if we have a position where we are protected long-term care to protect against our health, then that won't erode our retirement account.
So they should have took their money out the gross account and then put it in something else close to retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you a cut and dry answer, but I can give you options that are available where you continue to still grow your money to outpace inflation. Because a fixed account, if you're earning 3%, 4%, inflation, it fluctuates. So it was high as 8% a couple of years ago. Now it's down towards 3-4%, but it could go back up. And more likely it's gonna go back up with these tariffs right now.
What would you say to people, whether they're young, middle age, or whatever, that you're supposed to prepare, for the future, for retirement, you're supposed to invest a portion of your income. But what I found out, all people wasn't afford the amount of income that will afford them to invest. So what do you say, their income is limited and they have to take care
You start where you're at and you build. That's what I was telling you about in terms of your 20s. You start in your 20s and work with what you have. Reach your 30s, your income may increase. If it doesn't increase, you still stay consistent with a dollar cost averaging investment approach. Dollar cost averaging is saying you put one set amount each and every month and you stay consistent. And I believe I'm running out of time, so I want to kind of just wrap it up. I'll take one more question, 2 more questions.
I had a law firm
Okay.
2 years ago, and I retired at 59. The law firm, they were giving me 3% interest. In 2012, it became mature. I had it for 4 years in fact. They said, well, we're only going to give you 1% on interest. I said, give me my money. So what I did, I took the money early. I paid off the penalty, which was $2,000. Took the money and I had credit cards, paid them off. I don't owe the money. I'm living on Easy Street.
That's good.
That's what I did.
Good example.
And then I had a second IRA for about $9,000. I took that, paid some bills. I was 59 and a half, no penalty.
Okay. Yeah, once you're 59 and a half, there's no penalty, but you do have to pay taxes
Yeah, I pay
on the traditional
like
IRA.
$800.
But in the Roth IRA, you pay the taxes going in.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
All right.
I paid the $800.
All right. I've run out of time. I'll be able to give you my business card. Hopefully this was helpful. And thank you very much.
All right, so we're just coming down to the end. I wanted to be able, you don't want to stop the conversation once it gets really rich, right? You have a bunch of information, people are sharing information and ideas, and that's the reason why we come, right? We're not slaves to the times. I just want to be able to kind of keep it going, right? So we're supposed to end here in right around 12:10. Right, and so I do have some more information I would love to be able to share, right? And so if Mr. Mitchell would like to come to share some information, we'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eugene Mitchell. I'm a branch manager, business development officer with Columbia Bank. Real quick, I've been in banking 32 years, management, business development, probably about 26, 27 years. So, and heavily involved in the community, especially throughout Union County. But I just wanted to go over real quick. How many people here have a checking account, savings account? All right. Hopefully everyone, right? But just want to say the importance of keeping a good standing with the bank you are with. If you ever say in the negative standing where you owe the bank some money, you thank you, like, I will never pay them, I could go to another bank. We all communicate with each other. Have anyone ever heard of check systems? Yes. If you owe the bank money, you are reported to check systems. So as soon as you go to another bank and open an account, that's the first thing we check, as soon as you give us your name and social.
Everybody knew that? You knew that if banks talk to one another, you can't just randomly open up bank accounts. Really interesting.
Exactly. So it's very important. We didn't cover much, but it's important pretty much to budget, to create a budget for yourself. It's, if you never had one, like we covered before, you pretty much write down all your expenses, you write down your income. What's left is allocated to pay yourself, is allocated to pay your bills, food on the table, lights on. It's important to have that. And, so that's where a checking account comes in handy. Take care of your daily expenses, receive a direct deposit. A lot of people retire here, so you may receive Social Security, you may receive a pension. So that's for your expenses. Then you have your savings account. It's important to put away money for a rainy day. The way things are going now in the economy, God forbid you lose your job, you have to collect unemployment. This happened to my wife 2 years ago, and I'm sure it has gotten worse. It took 3-4 months for her to get her first unemployment check. So how are you supposed to survive? It's rough for me, it finally kicked in, and they gave her the lump sum, they paid the rear, but it's rough. So it's important to have a savings account. So back then we used to say at least put 3 months away in the savings, like whatever your monthly income, to have 3 months of that put away. These days you probably need 6 to 9 months. So that's just an eye opener, because you don't want to get caught out there. And just to share one of my personal experiences now, she just got laid off on the 1st. She got some things lined up. They gave her a little severance package, but it's good to have a backup, to cover until things kick in. So that's where the savings account comes in. And anything after that, you start noticing you're over the 6 to 9 months of savings, your money's still growing, you want to make more on a return. That's when you look into a higher yield return on some interest rate, CDs, IRAs. See, Jason, in regards to different investment products. So, you want to keep digging and growing, and have that compound interest kicking in on a daily basis. And that's where, most, like Todd, Spencer Savings, Columbia Bank, we are community banks, so we give back to the communities that we invested in the surrounding areas. So, we pretty much want to help you get going. We pretty much, most of us have like cash back bonuses going on right now. Let's say, for example, how many people have more than $1,000 or more going in as direct deposit going into their checking account? I mean, people use their debit card for purchases at least 10 times a month. Just that little minimum requirement, like I say, our way of giving back. Keep that consistency for 4 months. Columbia Bank will give you $400 in return as a cash back offer. So little things like that, those things offering, just look into it, do your homework, and then help.
Is that money taxed? We got this one.
That's a good question. I gotta look into that. That's a good question.
It is. You got some shorts.
It is. Okay. All right. So, but every little bit helps. And on the same time, that type of account, with the debit card purchase, we give 0.25 basis points back on every dollar.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned purpose.
Yes.
And you mentioned the $400.
Yes.
If you use a debit card more than 10 times a
10
month,
times a
would be
month.
beneficial. My question is that a one-time promotion, or is that something consistent?
One-time promotion.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Good question.
Yeah, because I was ready to sign up right now.
That's right. Yeah, you put us in the red.
I got a question for the senior citizens as myself.
Yes, sir.
The bank doesn't tell you this, but if you owe and you apply for a loan, sometimes they charge you high interest. They're not gonna tell you you're too old. But is there any way you can get around that, or you can say something to the bank to let them know that you're aware of that?
They show what you're doing, Mr. Bank. They charge you higher interest.
Okay, just say hypothetically, I want to get a loan, and I'm 78 years old. They consider how old I am, and they don't want to give me a loan for 5 or 6 years. Okay.
Well, that's considered discrimination.
Yeah, okay, they're not supposed to.
Right.
But they do it.
Right. Oh, well, no.
Okay,
here we go.
Wait a minute, sir, you're not gonna say they do it, but that's your job.
No, I haven't witnessed that personally.
Okay,
I've been around for a while.
but what I'm saying is any key word I could say to turn around and not fight them, but to let them know that, you know, can you tell me a little secret that you can share?
Well, everything's pretty much, it goes off your credit score, you gotta be in good standing, it goes off your debt to income ratio. I had a client recently, a senior, almost like an 850 credit score, you know, but his expenses and his income, now that he's retired, exceeded the ratio that the bank will lend him. So we couldn't approve his loan. So it goes by debt to credit ratio.
Yep. Yeah, but say I got good credit. To give you an example, how I got around that, I had somebody else apply for a loan and the same credit I had, and they got it cheaper. That's how I know what I'm trying to say. Okay, I just asked you.
I mean, if you feel that there's some type of discrimination taking place, there are different organizations in place that you can reach out to put a dispute in, and that bank will be investigated.
Okay, without going that far, but thank you.
Right.
Thank you for telling me what.
No problem.
All right.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank the speakers. Because we want to get you back downstairs, grab a little something, and we're gonna have our dad talk to wrap this up. You know, so you have another conversation among all of you, because a lot has been imparted this morning. So we kind of want to wrap it up with an inclusive conversation. So please, thank them again.
This is all the keynote speakers are gone, and all the other luminaries are gone, and now it's time to hear from you. Now it's time for what we call the dad talk. And I'm going to ask a question. And if you want to speak, just raise your hand. If just one person with one microphone, you might be able to get another microphone out here. Speak process along. But let's just get right to it. Personally, what does fatherhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man? Don't be bashful, don't be shy, because I'm going to walk up on you. How has fatherhood, what does it mean to you, and how has it shaped your life and identity as a man? Who wants to be first? Walk up on somebody. All right, here we go. Dream big, brother. What does it mean to you? What's your role in making that happen?
Just showing up and being here every day, no matter what. Just being the pillow foot. Something that they can, a resource, something they can look back on and say, that's the kind of life I should follow.
I like that resource. Pillow. Show of hands. Come on, don't be shy. I'm gonna walk up my name now. Because I want to know, what does this whole following process mean to you? You got his mouth full. So I'm a mess with my friend here. Brother boy. That's right. You know. He said you would pull up. That's right. I'll pull up.
Fatherhood to me is accountability, intentionality, being available to my children, being accountable to my children, being accountable to my wife. All of that goes together. You know, and then continue to learn, be around men like you. We can share our struggles together, we can share our good and our bad, and our indifference together. And I can be made better when I leave the room. That's why I come every year. Because I'm always gaining something to make me better. I can go home and make my home even better.
Iron sharpens iron. I know this, how old is he now? 30. I know when he was a little boy, with an electric smile, light up the room. Yes, sir, Ron.
Fatherhood means to me sacrifice, devotion, strength, protection, resilience, understanding, and support. I brought my boys here today so they can see and grow and learn from men, not only myself, but strong men, great men, new men, great men, because I want them to be great men. Sacrifice was the biggest thing to me, helping me grow as a man myself, because you don't get a pamphlet to learn how to be a father. Even though you see it and you watch it, but when you become one, it's a whole other world, a whole other change in yourself, and a big understanding of what you want to be and what you want to see your kids grow up to be a productive part of the society of this world. I'm continually learning, so I teach my boys to always learn. I teach them to always stand strong, mean what they say, and do what they mean. And I want them to understand that every day Dad is growing and learning to be a better dad for them to be better men. That's what fatherhood to me.
That, thank you. That was the other part of the question, and you answered it. How has it shaped you? How has it influenced you as a man? I mean, we get it. It's like I said before. It's not the title, it's the job description. That's what fathering is all about. But still, in the process of executing that job, there's a change that comes over you. It shapes you. How does it shape you, brother?
Well, obviously, for me, it shaped me for the positive to see positive role models that I can pattern myself after, and a responsibility to live up to.
So it's very important because you're always on display. You're that mirror. You're that mirror. When that child looks into you as that mirror, he's going to reflect what he sees. In your experience, this is question number 2. What are some common challenges that you have faced as a father in today's society? And how have you found support from other men in navigating these challenges? Like I said, iron sharpens iron. So I have a hand over here. So while you listen to this, brother, get your hand ready to go off because I'm coming to see you next. Talk to me.
I'm a father of 3 sons. One of the things I had to learn, I was always a very involved father. Now, the oldest is 30, the middle is 23, the youngest is 21. But what I had to learn is that as fathers, we must have things to do. We get out there, we do everything that we can, we sacrifice our time, our energy. We don't ever really have an opportunity to just be, because we're always on the job. And then we realize, they admire you to a certain age, they want to be above daddy all the time. Daddy, where you going? Daddy, what you doing? If you're doing something in particular, they kind of want to emulate that. Then they get at that pivotal age, around 14, 15, where they don't want anything to do with you. And then you start noticing that, we got the Christmas cards and Father's Day cards. They start coming in frequently. Our kids gave me Twizzlers for 5 years for Father's Day. It's because I said that was my favorite candy. When I told I'm tired of Twizzlers, I don't eat it anymore, at least I get rid of this. You know what I mean? But, the thing about being a father is that you also have to understand that they're going to themselves. And sometimes that may mean that they want to separate from you, so everything that you instilled in us, you have to trust that you instilled all of the proper things and that's going to work. So they kind of separate themselves. So in that moment, they go into their own manhood, to their own space of them becoming who they are. And even if they want to be someone of a different man than you are, what you hope they, because we all want to be better men than us, even if you think we're good men. We still trying to figure out, okay, how can you be the pinnacle of men? And I think for me that's just been the struggle as a father because I still want that attention from them, but I do understand they got a lot of kids, children have daughters. Now I'm a grandfather, so that's where a lot of my energy goes nowadays. I'm cheap on now, so they get nothing now. So whatever they was gonna get, it all goes to them now. But there's that bit of the street part, just understanding it as fathers. There's gonna be a point in time where that separation occurs, and we have to be prepared for it.
Thank you, brother. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, especially that bitter with the sweet. I have 4 children, and I'll stick up and fight for any of them anytime, any place, for any reason. But a couple of weeks ago, it was brought to my attention that my oldest, a Trump supporter, is selling Trump merchandise. We ain't had that discussion yet. It's coming. But again, even though he is so different from what I represent, I'm still his father. And I still have to find a way to take the bitter with the sweet. Brother over there had something to say.
Yes. We were talking about what it means to be a father. And I find it to be a privilege and an honor. I have 2 young adult daughters. So having that perspective of being that father, that man, that they should to look up to and expect when they look for another man, I want to try to be that example to show them exactly the way they should be treated by a man, to be respected, and to not reduce their standards in any way. So I just found that to be, once again, my oldest daughter is 27, my youngest one's 24, and just to see them grow up and be part of their lives has been really a privilege and an honor. But I really wanted to make sure that I set an example for them, for when they actually look to another man, that they see the standard that I want to at least present to them. And that's how everything is.
Thank you for that. Are there grandfathers in the room? Let me get to you in 1 second. Okay. There's some grandfathers in here? Because we talked about being a father. Anybody grandkids older than 10 years old? About 15 years old. My oldest just turned 20 in January. He's coming up here in April. Mama has a speaking engagement, but he's going to drive up. He's going to drive his pickup truck. We had a bid out for it 5 years. So, it's like Brother said, when they get to be a certain age, they ain't got time for it. My granddaughter, Brenda knows my granddaughter, she's always up on the roof. Now, I can't afford it. She got one. So, all you pop-pops, welcome to the club. Get ready for the next part of fatherhood. Yes, sir.
My name is Roger, and I'm very glad to be a father. And it's not a hard job. It's a very hard job. You feel like giving up sometimes. But it's the best part of your life. You see your kids play sports, and each one got personality. You see them grow. Each one got their own different personality. And like my son right there, he challenged doing every day. And I enjoy it. And I got other sons, and the best part of my life, but the most important thing, don't give up, and it's a hard job. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Big Daddy. Talk to me.
Learn from them.
Yeah, well, you know, what shaped you as a father? What shaped you as a man?
Shape, I mean, what I had to learn from them is, I take it for granted sometimes. Like, he's only 12, and I'm like, man, I am 3 times your age, what can you do? You know, but from watching him and doing things, I learned things about myself. I'm learning lessons that my father tried to teach me from me teaching him and understanding different ways. So that is what I learned from them. So it's like, as I'm teaching them, they're also teaching me. And you're saying, like, I can't really give a definition of what I think about fatherhood. It has become ingrained into my life so much, it's just my culture. It's just what I do. Now, with that being said, it is one thing where all the responsibilities and dedication and everything that comes with it is even part of it. But what it has become in terms of how it has affected me, it really just being there. It's part of my life where I can just be there. If I mess up many times. It's still going. I'm learning the ages. I got another son. I'm learning everything. So it's just really thinking. And like my father said, keep trying. Try. I can mess up. And sometimes I don't even stay here. I'm at the stage where I walk in the room, they walk out. I'm there. So it's like, you're not hearing me. But then I look at me. I heard my father, but it took me a minute to actually put it into place. So that's easy.
Patience, a big part of it. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good to see you again.
likewise, always a pleasure. So for me, there's a lot of things that shaped me as a father, and a lot of it stemmed from me not growing up with my dad initially. I got to know him later on in life, and then I became a father at a young early age. When I was in college, I had my 2 sons. My senior year, my junior year in college, my 2 sons were born. And then, unfortunately, I became a widower at an early age as well. At the age of 26, my wife was 28. So, not being raised with my dad, not necessarily knowing how to be a dad, I wanted to be the best father that I could be when I started raising my children. And then when I had to become a single parent, that was even more challenging. I subsequently got remarried, so not only was I a father, a single father. Then I became a step parent. My current wife had 3 children. So I raised a blended family, and as a result of raising a blended family, we now have 11 grandchildren. So they're all older. So I have 15-year-old grandchildren. You know, when Brian made his comments earlier, it resonated with me because I know that as my grandchildren are grown now, my children are the primary for their nurturing. But yet, I need to be there for my grandchildren now when they're going through things. But as Bill may mention, when they turn 15 and 16, they see us being old. They don't want to hear from me. But yet, I need to make a more concerted effort to be there for my grandchildren now that my children are already grown.
Thank you. I think most of you clap. You can applaud, man. The most important thing to me is that they may not be bothered with us, they got time for us, but if you watch them closely, you will see the reflection of you. Because there was something that you put in there when they were like 5, 6, 7 years old, and they still live by it and they still swear by it, even though it ain't got nothing to do with you. It came from Papa. It really did. You know, and the other piece, and I spoke to it earlier, as your children grow older and less dependent upon you, now they're out on their own, and you become their best friend. Because now you can have a relationship with them that you couldn't have when you were responsible for everything that went on in their life. And to me, that relationship, like I said, I have discussions with my youngest son and my oldest daughter that, like, I never envisioned having. But we get real and we talk. And we talk. And at the end, it's still all love, but now I'm their friend. Now I can be their friend. So along the same lines, how have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood? Come on. Digest it. Anybody want to say something? I'm walking up on you. It's going to happen. Separate 24. How have societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood?
I think it's a really good question. For me, growing up, my dad was a provider. He worked 3-4 jobs. He dedicated time to spend with his children. He had children outside of my mom that he didn't really get to see. So when he had me and my sister, he really wanted to make an earnest effort to spend time with us. But like I said, during the week, I really didn't see him. So for me, growing up, how society has shaped my mind, being a father, you have to provide. You're the protector, you're the provider. But something you mentioned a little bit earlier about just being their friend, it wasn't something that I quickly grasped. I was a father at an early age. I was 19, freshman in college, when I had my son. And I fell into that same cycle that my father was in, which is working, seeing my son on the weekends. But then as he got older, and as I got older and more mature, I realized the value of being a friend to your child. And there's a thin line between being a father and a friend, but just communicate with him. How's your day? How was school? And they usually give the one word answer. It was good. Well, what was good about it? Challenge them to actually speak to you and have a conversation. I think that opens them up a little bit more to be vulnerable and to want to speak to you. And then also be careful on how much you reprimand them versus actually conversing with them. Because sometimes as a child, you're hearing your dad yell at you, or they're making a mistake or whatever, what you're supposed to do, but there's a balance between that and actually being that friend or being that man in their life that they could look up to. So now, I don't really reprimand my son as much because he's pretty responsible for his age, but I spend more time speaking to him. Like, what do you see yourself doing in the next year or two? Okay, he plays basketball. Okay, well now you're a bench player. How do you, get into that role of being a starter? Okay, do you need extra help? Do you want me to spend more time with you on this? Like really valuing what he learns and what he likes to do. And I'm a father of a 4-year-old daughter, and it's similar, but it's a lot different, if that makes sense, when you're talking about a son and a daughter. So I'm learning on both ends. But to answer the question, I would say I really just value what my children are doing and just being present in that moment and really supporting them and just talking to them, like, just being that best friend. It has made our relationships, a lot stronger.
Thank you. Anyone else? How societal expectations and stereotypes influenced your understanding and approach to fatherhood?
I feel like early on, um, I had the idea of work, and that's how you provide. So I come home, look at my wife, she'd be mad at me for working so much, and that's when I tell my daughter. In my head, I'm like, well, this money has to come from somewhere. And then I started to realize, I've been married about 6, 7 years now, I'm starting to realize that I'd work without a kid. I'd work without a wife. Working is a part of life. So I can't add that to just being a father. So there has to be another thing that I have to do strictly about being a father. I had to realize that I needed to take work out of it. I realized that's just a part of what I have to do anyway. You know, I had to learn to spend more time in the house and doing things. And then growing up with a family that's, where your mom sometimes does everything, and you don't realize how much she's doing until you get married and your wife looks at you like, I'm not doing all that. You know, like, are you crazy? You didn't even realize how terrible your dad was. I'm like, oh, crap. But it's something, as you're in a marriage, you're trying to work through a marriage, you realize, you have to be able to go through the ebbs and flows. But again, working is very, very big for me. Learning that, again, it was a part of life, not just a part of me.
Thank you. Thank you. Talk about ebbs and flows. As a father, as a man, how do you communicate with your spouse, friends, children, your family, to have them understand your needs and your concerns? We talk about fathers being providers. We need some provision too every now and then. We need somebody to kind of like step up, look out for us. How do you communicate your needs to your family, to your friends, to your spouse, or whomever? How do you do it, my brother?
Still trying to figure it out.
Here we are. That's fine. How about you, sir?
I think, like you said, is something to try to figure it out. Speaking of more so people that are familiar with your situation, I'm in a relationship with somebody. I can't sit here and talk to a friend that's single. You wouldn't understand exactly actually what I'm going through. I can't speak to somebody that don't have kids, and I can't go to them off of situations like that. So for me personally, I usually just have conversations with people that are familiar with my situation, and that I have either gone through what I'm going through, or just somebody that's, being, just live the same lifestyle. I would simply say.
Let me ask this question a different way. Because doctors and social scientists and all them folks, they talk about weathering the cumulative effect of whatever your situation is, as a man, as a father, as whatever. Over time, it starts to take effect on you. So, who do you talk to? What do you do when you feel it? You know what is happening. Who do you talk to? Who do you seek out when you're in that state of weathering?
Personally, myself, it's something I do spiritually. Read scripture. And I reflect on what I read. That's what I do. And to add a footnote to that, I also reflect on something that grandfather of mine said to me many, many years ago, or something uncle would have said to me, and I refer back reaching deep into the well was something that someone said a long time ago, and I reflected on that. That's right.
Thank you. That well is deep, but sometimes there's stuff that just floats to the top. It ain't that deep in the well, but it's in the well. Like I said, somebody, they don't want to have much to do with us after they reach a certain age. By the time they get to that age, you've said something, you've done something positive that sticks with you.
So, I was married and then got divorced. And I think what we don't do as men is recognize that sometimes the flaws are in us. We're afraid to go forward and say, I messed up, or I apologize. We're afraid to go seek help, to get therapy, to have an outside person that has no interest in any party to say, consider this perspective. Will this work? Will this benefit you? Will this benefit your spouse? I think sometimes we are so stuck in our ways that we have this machismo attitude that just says, I'm the man. This is how it's going to go. Why? Because that's the way my daddy told me. Or that's the way society deems the leader of the household. Because sometimes leadership can also come from your wife, where she's sitting by your side and giving you a different perspective, but you just don't want to listen to her. Why? Because I'm the man. So my thing is sometimes we need to seek out and go talk to a licensed professional. If it's really that deep, it's okay.
Thanks, Sergeant. Anybody else need any therapy before? Sure, yeah, I ain't gonna ask you about therapy yet, but no, I don't. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna ask about anything like that. It helps. I've been there. Divorced, 13 years marriage, 3 kids. You gotta look in the mirror because you had something to do with that. It wasn't all the other person. Wasn't all the other person. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to what you said a little bit earlier. Over the last couple of years, it's actually been pretty cool. As I've gotten older, I'm a father to a stepson, and I have a son on the way. And like I said, over the last couple of years, I've been kind of learning to have a relationship with my pops, where we're more friends than father and son. And with that relationship growing in that level, it's actually opened my eyes to show that, to answer your question, some of the things you have to do is first, be willing to be vulnerable, and your partner, picking the right partner, is going to allow that opportunity, because most of us have either grown in this figure or have been led in this way that we have to be this rock and this stoic figure at all times. So that partner is going to allow you to be vulnerable, but also allows you to be intentional about talking about the things you need for yourself. And again, in that relationship with my father, he's been telling me all the things he's needed over the years as I was growing that he didn't get or he was looking for. So at this point in my life, I am trying to be more intentional and speaking on where I need help, when I need help, building those walls and those boundaries with family as well. Again, being a father, being that figure, that rock in your family, is not just for your kids, but it's also for siblings, for nieces, for nephews, for your parents at times too. You have to learn to build those boundaries to also not just benefit growing as a father, but growing as a man. And the continuous growth as a man, I think, is going to lend to your development as a father. Well, at least mine. And that's my feelings towards fatherhood in general, and that's why I decided to come to something like this.
Very important. The foundation has a weak spot in it. Guess what's going to happen? The father is foundation. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you how I see it. I'm not gonna ask anybody to take my advice.
being a father, you can listen to everybody else, you can listen to your wife, and she's there to help you. Sometimes she's right. But you gotta make the best decision for yourself. And if you don't make the decision, if something goes wrong, it is your fault. That's the way I live my life. And then I go to my source with God. Now, I tell you that side, I ain't always did the right thing. I got issues I gotta work on every day. But I'm not telling you to take my advice, but I'm telling you, if it don't work out, it's not the woman's fault, it is your fault. Thank you.
Thank you. So I got one more question before we get out of here. This is gonna be interesting. Reads like this. How do you envision emerging technologies like cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence, which I call fake news, impacting the future for you and your children? What opportunities and challenges do you foresee in these areas? It's kind of interesting as we get ready to pack up and move out of here to get back into the real world. This is the stuff that's out there. Yes, sir? You a daddy?
No.
Okay, that's fine. You got a voice, we'll listen.
I'm young, I just.
How old are you?
I'm 19. And I've been hearing what you've been saying about like AI, how it's fake news. I mean, AI is only fake news when people make it fake news. AI, I feel like AI is very, it's done, it helps a lot. Like, people in college, people that are looking for jobs, looking for careers, helping with resumes. AI does a lot of amazing things, And I feel like people push out, like when we see when the AI is bad, some people is going to use it like. But I feel like AI can help, like it's definitely used to help a lot of people in this world right now. That's just my.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, all this technology is out here. It's all good, but if you use it the wrong way, it's not all good. Okay? And I call AI fake news again. Artificial fake intelligence news, fake news. But on the other hand, there are positives, as you said. It can help you write a resume. It can help you find answers to questions that you might not otherwise know. But on the flip side of it, there's a vast reservoir of real intelligence right here in this room. People who have had life experience. My main issue with artificial intelligence is push button. And we've become way too comfortable and way too reliant, on pushing a button and getting the answer to a question. I remember once upon a time we had to do this thing called go to the library, find a book. You can't take that book with you. Once upon a time we had things called encyclopedias. You can't take that book with you. You had to write down that information that you needed to know. So that way you could take it with you, that way you could study it, that way you could develop different questions from what you had already absorbed. But now with artificial intelligence, give me a picture of an eagle eating a fish. Bam. You ain't learned nothing about eagles, you ain't learned nothing about fish, but you got that picture. Yes, ma'am.
So, honestly, I think that's actually a conversation we continue to have as generation, right? And as things change, right? If you look at back in the day, as you said, there was books, there was a lot. We had this conversation when the internet came out, right? We were still plugging in the house phone into the wall to get on the internet. So I think it's very progressive, but it's the same concept. And I think it goes back to kind of what we were talking about upstairs. It's the foundation that's built. It's starting with the village. It's starting with what you learn at home and how you utilize these tools. And with anything can be used positively or negatively. But it's what you instill in your children from home, because we are sending about this in this world, right? So if we prepare them and teach them how to use these things positively, they can be used positively. We don't prepare them, then they will be negative. So this is a conversation that we have continued to have over the years as we progress, but we want to make sure that we prepare them to utilize them properly so they can advance with the world as it is.
Thank you very much for that. You know, as somebody who spent 45 years in broadcasting, I detest the use of AI to do my job. And I don't know if anybody in here look at videos on YouTube. I know you ain't the only one. I ain't either. You know, everybody can sit on their head. But you can be on videos on YouTube where the narrator is AI. It's not a person talking to you. It's a generated voice performing a specific script. Now, you can get information out of that, but the nuance is gone. Like I said, give me a picture of an eagle eating a fish. You ain't learned nothing about the eagle. You ain't learned nothing about the fish. You got that picture. You got that picture. But the nuance that goes into the picture doesn't exist. And that's, to me, where AI comes up short, in addition to the fact it's taking people's jobs. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I think with the whole AI thing, and I think it's just changing times with what you were saying. It's the TV used to be that problem. Now you shouldn't watch this many hours of TV a day. Now everybody in the room probably watch this many hours of TV a day. I get it. It's what I have to think, or a lot of the things I say generational wealth. And when people talk about generational wealth, they always put money. It's always money, money, money. My thing is with generational wealth, it's also teaching our kids manners, it's teaching them respect, it's teaching them integrity, it's teaching them how to deal with a woman, how to deal with their bank accounts. We forget to pass everything else down, but we're like, get the money, get a good job, go to school, get a good job, get the money, get the money. And we're not teaching them how to say thank you, or excuse me anymore, or we're not teaching them adversity, or integrity. No, we do need money, we all know that, but I think that needs to be taught all the way across the board even. Because now we got a bunch of rich kids that's spoiled in their journeys, or we have something, it's imbalanced. So I believe we need to keep our generational wealth, and like you said, foundation, if we keep our generational wealth and keep passing it down, we don't have to worry about what tools are there, because they're going to use them with integrity in the right way.
Thank you. So, I mean, there's knowledge and there's information. I don't know in the long run, I think that knowledge is going to serve you better. You get something right up front with the information, you get the answer with the information, but knowing what goes into the answer, that's knowledge. And that's something that we all need. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. Talk to me.
Let's thank Bill again.